Hi, Easily. I have got some new fiction for you guys that we just got in. I would say this would be maybe third grade and up that would be interested in these books. So I've got them kind of by categories, and we'll start off with some princesses. So if you're into um, castles and princesses and princes, you might want to try Jewel Kingdom. That's a new series that we have. They have a lot of adventure and magic in these. These should be pretty easy to read. They're not quite in our quick chapter section, but I think you guys would have no problem reading those. Then there's The Princess Rules, about a princess who's just a little bit different. She's a little bit more of a warrior than she is a princess. So you would enjoy this if you like reading books about strong girls. And this one's a little bit longer than the other ones, but there still has some good illustrations. Now I've got some sort of animal stories. This was a request by a student in this series called the Green Ember. It's like lots of fantasy and magic, and these rabbits go on this very epic adventure. So if you like things like Tale of Despero, you might want to check out this series. There's a decent amount of text to it, so I would say maybe 4th or 5th grade would enjoy these. Here's just a funny one. Fabio, the Flamingo detective. So this would be good if you just want to laugh. Probably a pretty easy read with a lot of humor to it. This is one of our Battle of the Books right now. The first one, called The Very, Very Far North, so this is the sequel to it. So I would suggest maybe reading the first one first, but you'd have to wait till EBOB is over in March. But if you have read that one and you want to try the sequel, see what those animals are up to. And we have a few of these. Lily to the Rescues, this is just another one. If you're into reading about dogs and animal adventures, you're going to love this one, which is called Two Little Piggies. All right, now I've got some action adventure. Two ones by Roland Smith, both about creatures. So this is Chupacabra, about a cryptid creature, and Tentacles is about a giant squid. So definitely lots of like high action packed excitement if you want to check those out. Mrs. Keeler read this one and really enjoyed it. It's about time travel. It's called Glitch, and it's kind of like, would you go back in time if you knew you could change history, and what would you do, and what are the consequences of that? Pretty decent read. I think maybe 4th or 5th grade would enjoy this. And this is another student request. We have this series, we were missing this one, so that one came in per request. This one kind of stands on its own. This is kind of historical fiction. It has to do with Korea in 1950s, but it's a survival story. So it's about a girl and her brother that need to escape, but they need to travel through the wilderness. So if you're into stories like Hatchet or My Side of the Mountain, you might want to check this out. It does have some pretty realistic war scenarios in it, so it could be maybe a little upsetting. So I would recommend this one maybe for 5th graders. This one I actually talked about in the graphic novel one because it's sort of a graphic novel, but it's technically just a chapter book. And it's called Fly in the Wall, and it's about a kid, kind of middle school age, that doesn't quite fit in, and he gets frustrated and he decides he's going to go visit his father, but his father lives in another country, so it's sort of about him flying on his own. But it's got some great humor to it. I really enjoyed this one. Here's a new series called After School Superstars. There's Vera Vance and Nixie Ness. So if you enjoy things like Judy Moody or Stink or just these cute realistic fiction stories, you might want to try this series. Mrs. Keeler read this one and loved it, Brave Like That. This is kind of a going into middle school story about fitting in and figuring out who you are, learning about what's right and wrong, and she said it was really good read. I would recommend this one, pretty decent read for maybe 5th grade. And I read this one, loved it. Something to Say, and it's kind of about a girl who's crippled with shyness. And she's got a lot of things going on in her family. She does not want to have like friends, but she sort of makes a new friend, and just sort of like learning how to speak up for yourself and speaking your truth, even though you really don't want to do that. All right, almost done. Just some magic stories for you. I read this one and enjoyed it. It's called Rival Magic, and it's definitely magic story. There's sea creatures, there's mermaids, there's spells, there's spell books, but also it's a great friendship story. So I really enjoyed Rival Magic. I think 4th and 5th graders would enjoy this one. This one, neither Mrs. Keeler and I have read, but it's a dragon book, and you guys love dragons, so you'll probably enjoy this one. It's called The Coming of Dragons. This is another magic one that Mrs. Keeler and I have not gotten to yet, and I'll probably read this pretty soon. It's called The Magic in Changing Your Stars. It's a brother story that also has magic in it. It also has to do with Alvin Ailey, who was a dancer. So it's kind of a blend of magic and historical fiction. This one we haven't had a chance to read either. This is called Ghost Squad, but it is about a family and a spell that goes wrong on Halloween and having to work together to try and fix what the spell released. And finally, another one we haven't gotten to yet, which is The Boy Who Grew Dragons. So it's kind of a silly story. There's some humor to it, but it's also a pretty heartwarming story as well. So if you're into dragons and magic, kind of more like having a pet, you might enjoy this one. So that's all of the new fiction that we got for 2021. So if you want, you can place any of these on hold by going into Destiny and looking up the title, and I hope that you guys enjoy.